Welcome back to Headlines. I'm Wes Austin, and these are today's top stories. Well, they finally did it. They woke-washed the nativity. A church in Illinois put out a nativity scene with a zip-tied baby Jesus, Roman soldiers depicted as ICE agents, and Mary and Joseph wearing gas masks. Finally, answering the question, what if the nativity took place in Seattle? On Facebook, Lake Street Church of Evanston said the display reimagines the nativity as a scene of forced family separation, drawing direct parallels between the Holy Family's refugee experience and contemporary immigration detention practices. The church explained, "This work asks viewers to confront the disconnect between professed religious or moral values and immigration policies." The good news is that God is patient and merciful. The bad news for this church is that he also invented smiting. Michael Douglas's son went on CNN and got ambushed by reality. Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones are reportedly fuming after their son was rattled by Scott Jennings on CNN. Their son, Dylan Douglas, tried to blame Republicans for the shutdown when he got some pushback from Jennings.
That were hurting people, making this plight.
Who was casting the votes against opening the government, Democrats or Republicans?
Who was
casting the votes?
Scott, who was wanting to cut SNAP benefits?
Nobody.
Republicans
voted to fund SNAP 15 times.
SNAP benefits after two courts ruled that it was unallowed?
Republicans voted to fund SNAP 15 times. Democrats voted to defund it 15 times. And we had to get 8 to join us.
Dylan was not ready for Scott. When you're raised in Hollywood, pushback usually means your assistant didn't confirm the brunch reservation. Sources say that Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones consider the segment unfair and exploitative, arguing their son was thrown into a heated partisan debate he wasn't prepared to handle. So far, Dylan's only experience with confrontation is reading negative movie reviews about his dad. Zeta-Jones allegedly vented to friends that CNN set Dylan up for failure, while Douglas believes the network crossed the line by letting the exchange turn into an on-air humiliation. Insiders say that the couple is so outraged they intend to blacklist the whole network moving forward. I'm sure that the network that gave us Jeffrey Toobin and Don Lemon is devastated to lose the Douglas family seal of approval. Chuck Schumer says that his New York offices were under bomb threats from MAGA. Here's what he posted on X. This morning, I was informed by law enforcement entities throughout New York of multiple bomb threats that were made at my offices in Rochester, Binghamton, and Long Island with the email subject line MAGA and from an email address alleging the 2020 election was rigged. That was so thoughtful of the sender to put MAGA in the subject line. I mean, that is going to save a lot of time and energy on behalf of law enforcement in determining which political party to blame. The sender may as well have typed in, "Please blame Republicans for this." It looks like Schumer also linked to an article from AP News. Let's take a look at it and see if we can find any evidence to back up Chuck's claims. Okay, here's a quote. A law enforcement source confirmed that Suffolk County Police responded to Schumer's Long Island office, but could not confirm the details of the threat. The person requested anonymity because the investigation is ongoing. Schumer claims that MAGA threatened him. Investigators responded, "Can't confirm." Translation, Chuck's campaign manager is willing to do whatever it takes to change his polling numbers. Ellen discovered something worse than Trump, cold weather. So they might be coming back. At this point, they're basically on a world tour called Nowhere Feels Gay Enough. Former talk show host and comedian Ellen DeGeneres and her wife are reportedly returning to the United States despite fleeing after President Trump's victory over Kamala Harris. Even though Ellen has said she intends to stay in the UK until Trump leaves office, it's being reported that she's telling her friends she wants to return to California to avoid the chilly weather and because her wife, Portia, wants to act again. She left America for Britain, then immediately came back when she realized she'd basically moved to a country where everyone thought she was Gordon Ramsay with the talk show. Turns out, Ellen's commitment to resisting fascism lasted exactly as long as Britain's commitment to central heating. And now onto the comment section. So on this segment we did about Tim Walz, where some social workers said that he is 100% responsible for that fraud going on in Minnesota. So we had this comment from Michelle Pfaff, 7072. Breaking, Minnesota AG Keith Ellison caught on tape pledging to help Somali fraudsters in exchange for campaign donations. And I did see this trending on X. And so I wanted to look into this a little bit because this is actually an old story, and I think somebody reposted it on X and kind of got it going again, but this is something that happened a while back. So this article is from the New York Post. This was published April 2025, but I believe the audio that they're talking about goes back even further than that, like 2021. So this is something that happened, and let's look into this because it sure starts to smell like something is really going on with the controlling government in Minnesota and all of this fraud going on up there. So let's look at this article. Minnesota AG Keith Ellison accepted campaign donations from individuals linked to $250 million COVID fraud scheme, and which we now know later, I think we're up to like $1 billion or more than $1 billion. So, okay, Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison raked in $10,000 in campaign donations shortly after meeting with individuals linked to a nonprofit that stole $250 million from a federal program meant to feed hungry children during the pandemic. I'm not here because I think it's going to help my reelection, Ellison said during the December 11, 2021 meeting with two future criminal defendants linked to the Feeding Our Future scandal, according to audio obtained by the Center for the American Experiment, a conservative Minnesota-based nonprofit. So that Feeding Our Future, that organization is the same one that's been talked about in that $1 billion fraud scandal that we're talking about now. So that ties to that same organization. Days later, on December 20th, 2021, Ellison received $10,000 in campaign contributions from individuals linked to that Minneapolis nonprofit Feeding Our Future Records show. So that's kind of coincidental, right? He talks with them, and a few days later he gets 10 grand. But that's not all. Check this out. Ellison's son, Minneapolis City Council member Jeremiah Ellison, also accepted campaign contributions from the Muhammad brothers, said 4 others indicted in the case and several others with ties to Feeding Our Future, the Center of the American Experiment noted. Now that's even weirder, isn't it? That his son gets a campaign contribution a little bit later. This just smacks of corruption, doesn't it? Okay, so now, start thinking about this. So then they found out about all this fraud. Now, what do you think the AG's office said about it when they found out? Do you have any guesses? Okay, because it's not looking good, right? Well, you're going to be amazed, or maybe you won't be amazed, but just look at what their position was after this came out. So, and this is from that same article. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison and his office have been deeply involved for 2 years in holding Feeding Our Future accountable, his office said in a September 2022 press release. The Attorney General's office worked closely with the Minnesota Department of Education as they provided suspicions of fraud and other evidence and information to the FBI, which directly led to the federal investigation and indictments of Feeding Our Future and its founder, Amy Bach. Without the Attorney General's involvement alongside MDE in flagging that fraud and turning it over to the criminal investigative power of the federal government, there would likely have been no federal investigation or indictments. I seriously can't believe this. So, I mean, he has that meeting, he gets a donation, there's tons of fraud going on, and then I guess I was helping you guys. I enabled this to catch these people. The facts just don't make sense to me. I know, but I don't think anything happened to him. And he said, like, no, I didn't do it on purpose. I wasn't bribed. But when you look at the facts, it just looks it really doesn't look good. But apparently he was just helping to nail them all along. So there we go. Okay, thanks for watching Headlines. I'm Wes Austin. Good night.